want to say something about the Nigun tonight, or you said 1,000 years, possibly 1,000 years?
Yeah, like we're not sure when, but thousands and it's at least 800. But that's in terms of like writing things down. And there's definitely material before that, fragments of the melody.
Wow.
I'll just start with it and then I'll talk about it.
Realize.
For some of us, this may be one of the easiest ways to explain Nusach. This is the music that makes us say, it's that time of year, it's that service. This is what is known as the evening high holiday, Nusach. This is a Sinai tune, a from Sinai tune. How old does that mean? Well, some would like to say as old as Moses. But we know that, at least from research, it's probably about 1,000 years old. That if we think about maybe our parents, our grandparents, if somebody converted, maybe it was somewhere else in the gene pool along the way, maybe it was from Abraham and Sarah. But that this is a melody that sits within us and brings us back and connects us, the door from generation to generation. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Joe, play it one more time.
Sure.
Shabbat Shalom. We must be hardwired for music, because just to hear that melody sets
of so many associations. Like I hear those first chords and I'm thinking about all the different places over my last 40 years as a rabbi where I have conducted High Holy Day services. So I'm instantly transported as far away as Haifa, Israel, to here, Leone, New Jersey, because that's a common thread to every service that I've conducted, no matter where the congregation or what the decade it must be like. So there are these means, music may be chief among them, that really do connect us to past experiences. Some people say that our sense of smell is another way, that sometimes you'll smell something and instantly be transported back to when you were a child and had that dish for a holiday and so forth. But it's very appropriate that we introduce that high holiday theme, melody this evening, as we stand exactly 1 week before Rosh Hashanah. This entire month of Elul is considered a penitential month, and many people think that Slichot prayers are simply the Shabbat before Rosh Hashanah. They culminate at that time, but in Eastern Europe, the very pious would rise at the midnight hour for the entire month, every night at midnight. My mother was telling Debbie and myself that she remembers growing up and taking her grandmother, European-born, to Slichot services at midnight, the Saturday before, dropping her off, and then coming back at the wee hours of the morning to bring her home. My mother added, never once did I think about stepping foot in the synagogue myself during that time. It just was something that her grandmother did. And this, my great-grandmother, who I knew a little bit when I was a child, she at that time was already blind, but even early in her life, she never had the opportunity to learn to read or write. But yet she knew the Slichot prayers, all of them, and all the other prayers by heart. So on this last Shabbat of the Jewish year 5783, we continue our welcome of the Shabbat this evening with Shalom Aleichem on page 24, and we'll make a slight change for the approaching High Holy Days that Joe will tell you about.
This was a thing that Debbie Freeman wrote about, and it's I learned a Hasidic tradition to not say Tzeitchem l'Shalom, that Shalom Aleichem is about when the angels come and descend upon Shabbat, that we say, welcome to you, you're welcome here. And at the end, Tzeitchem is saying goodbye, but rather we're going to say Shuvchem, return in peace. Return and come back. We long for Shabbat next week when you will be back. Instead of saying goodbye. Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem. Malachei Hasharet. Malachei Elyon. Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom
At the bottom of page 27, entrances to holiness are everywhere. The possibility of ascent is all the time, even at unlikely times and through unlikely places. There is no place on earth without the presence. For our call to worship, the Baruch Hu, the next page, please rise. Please be seated. On page 31, this is an hour. We might add also a season of change. Within it, we stand uncertain on the border of light. Shall we draw back or cross over? Where shall our hearts turn? Shall we draw back, my brother and my sister, or cross over? This is the hour of change, and within it, we stand quietly on the border of light. What lies before us? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? Baruch atah Adonai ha'ma'ariv arabim. It's a season of changing, and also the change is both the world around us and the world within us, the world of nature and the world of the soul, ahavat olam.
אהבת עולם בית ישראל אהבת תורה ומצוות חוקים ומשפטים אותנו לימדת על כן אדוני אלוהינו בשוכבנו ובקומנו נשיח בחוקיך ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו ובהם נגד יומם ולילה אהבתך תסיר ממנו לעולמים ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד ברוך שם כבוד נתותו לעולם ועד מעתה
את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך
והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וכשאתה לאות על ידך והיו לטוטפות בעיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
Last week, I talked about a very exciting but highly controversial archaeological discovery directly connected to the Torah portion, the so-called Mount Ebal curse tablet. Well, wouldn't you know that another very exciting archaeological discovery was announced this week from Israel, and it's not controversial, but it is exciting, and I saw a little video clip of the Israeli archaeologists talking about it. Israeli archaeologists have systematically been revisiting all the caves in the Judean desert that yielded the Dead Sea Scrolls and other finds. They've been going back sometimes a second, third, fourth time because there are nooks and crannies and collapsed areas. And this week, Israeli archaeologists discovered in one of those caves, kind of hidden in a nook, 4 Roman swords in remarkable condition from the Bar Kokhba revolt, the second revolt, 132 to 135 CE. So what were these Roman swords doing in a cave that hid Jewish scrolls? And archaeologists surmise that they were stolen or in a battle were acquired by the Jewish rebels and they were hidden away. These were Jewish rebels fighting for independence and freedom for a second time. In 70 CE, they were decimated by the Romans, and the Bar Kokhba revolt, it failed completely as well. But that's how deep the desire for freedom was, that these rebels, knowing what had happened in the first revolt, tried again. Part of that deep yearning for freedom comes from the Exodus story and from the celebration of freedom in our next prayer, Mi Chamocha, page 40.
Elohim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora regilot oseh veret malchutecha rahu Moshe u'Miriam, zehi anu ve'ameru, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. V'ne'mar ki bana Adonai el Yaakov u'galo מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני, גא ישראל.
On page 42, grant, O God, that we lie down in peace and raise us up our guardian to life renewed. Spread over us the shelter of your peace.
השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, ועמיתנו שומרנו לקיים. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, ועמיתנו שומרנו לקיים. ושמור צאתנו לקיים ושלום מדבר עולם. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, ועמיתנו שומרנו לקיים. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, ועמיתנו שומרנו לקיים. ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך, ברוך אתה אדוני, הפורס סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים.
The people of Israel shall keep Shabbat, observing Shabbat throughout the ages as a covenant for all time.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני, עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
To the point I made earlier, we are a people in whom the past endures, in whom the present is inconceivable without moments gone by. The Exodus lasted a moment enduring forever. What happened once upon a time happens all the time. For the Tefillah Amidah prayer, page 46, we rise.
Adonai sevatai tiftach ufi agi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol, HaGibor HaNorah, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, V'koneh HaKol, V'zocher Chasadei Avot V'imahot, V'vi Geula Livnei Bneihem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Mashiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mekayeh HaKol Atarav Lehoshia, Morid Hatal, Mekalkel Chayim Bechesed, Mekayeh HaKol Le'rachamim Radim, Tzomech Nofalim V'rofeh Kolim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato Lishenei Afar, Michamocha B'Givurot, Umidom Elach, Melech Memit Umekayem, Umatniach Yeshua, B'nemanata Lekayot HaKol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mekayeh HaKol. Atah kadosh v'shimecha kadosh, u'kedoshim b'kol yom yaleluka selah. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh.
Please be seated. I choose to read a challenging, subversive, but powerful reading from our prayer book, which I think is appropriate, just to shake us up a bit as we enter the High Holy Day season. It's on page 55. We'll read it responsively by paragraph. Disturb us, Adonai. Ruffle us from our complacency. Make us dissatisfied. Dissatisfied with the peace of ignorance, the quietude which arises from a shunning of the horror, the defeat, the bitterness, and the poverty, physical and spiritual, of humans.
Adonai, deny to us the false Shabbat, which gives us the delusions of satisfaction amid a world of war and hatred.
Wake us, O God, and shake us from the sweet and sad poignancies rendered by half-forgotten melodies and rubric prayers of yesteryears.
Make us know that the border of the sanctuary is not the border of living, and the walls of your temples are not shelters from the winds of truth, justice, and reality.
Disturb us, O God, and vex us. Let not your Shabbat be a day of torpor and slumber. Let it be a time to be stirred and spurred to action.
Baruch atah Adonai Mikadesh HaShabbat.
The prayer of peace that concludes the Amidah, Shalom Rav, on page 60.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim leolam. Ki atahu melech adom lechol hashalom. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim leolam. V'tov b'neicha levarech et Amcha Yisrael b'kol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם.
Now, at the end of the Amidah, our thoughts turn to those of our loved ones in need of healing. Be this a healing of body or very much also a healing of soul. We pause to bring them to mind and also include all those we do not know as we join together in the healing prayer.
שברך אבותינו, אברהם, יצחק ויעקב. מי שברך אמותינו, שרה רבקה, לאה ורחל. May the one who blessed our mothers, may the one who blessed our fathers, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, and bless us as well. Bless us with the power of your healing. Bless us with the power of your hope. May our hearts be filled with understanding and strengthened by the power of your love. Yishemerach Avotenu, Avraham, Yitzchak v'Yaakov. Yishemerach Imotenu, Sara Rivka, Leah v'Rachel. May the one who blessed our mothers, may the one who blessed our fathers, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, and bless us as well.
what is our responsibility to our family, our community, and to God? That's really the question that arises from this week's Torah portion of Parashat Nitzavim, toward the end of the book of Deuteronomy, when Moses exhorts the people, every one of us stands in the covenant before our God. He said, from the wood chopper and the water drawer, the lowest station, to the tribal heads. This portion is so important that we're actually going to repeat it on Yom Kippur morning, because it's the Torah portion that was selected by the Reform movement decades ago as the alternative reading for Yom Kippur morning. So, matter of fact, Judy Aronson and Cantor Joe will be chanting from this Torah portion. But right now, we pause and think about what are some of those responsibilities that maybe we're falling a bit short concerning family, community, and God as we approach this high holiday season. We pause. So what does the word slicha, slichot, actually mean? Forgiveness is the word that is most often used to translate the meaning of these high holiday penitential prayers. I'll suggest that that's not wrong, but it's not fully right at the same time. It's a challenging word, and it's challenging in Hebrew or in English. It's central to Judaism and to other religions, the notion of forgiveness leading to repentance, and repentance leading to forgiveness. But how do we really understand it? Surprisingly, there's not many stories in the Bible that illuminate this. There's actually very few stories of forgiveness when you stop and think about all this. There are a lot more stories about sibling rivalry and family dysfunction, and not a whole lot of forgiveness. Well, there's three that come to mind. Basically three, that's it. Two are in Genesis, one is in Exodus. The first is Jacob and Esau. Isn't that a story of forgiveness? Well, it is, because these two brothers were completely estranged. Jacob flees for his life, thinking his brother's going to kill him. There's no contact between these brothers for decades. Then Jacob is all grown up, and he has the wives and the children, and he wants to go home. And in that fateful meeting, Esau comes with all his armed men, and they fall on each other's shoulders and they kiss and they make up, and Esau forgives Jacob for stealing the birthright, right? I think so. I think Esau does not get credit for being forgiving. He gets such a bad rap in the Midrash because he's not Jacob, he's not the Israelite. He's the father of a different people. But here's the thing that's not often appreciated. When Esau says, bring your whole clan, come settle next to me, we'll work this out. Jacob says, no thank you. And the Torah quietly says at the end of the story, Jacob goes his way, Esau goes his way, and there's little indication that the relationship resumes. So it's a story of forgiveness and reconciliation up to a point, but not fully. So you say, well, Jacob's son Joseph, now there's a story of forgiveness. Joseph forgave his brothers, and they reconciled with him, and it's happily ever after. Right? Not quite. I think that Joseph remarkably goes through a transformation, and he says more than once, God had a plan here. What's happened in the past happened. He doesn't use the words, I forgive you, but by his actions, and he brings everybody down and settles them, and tremendous for somebody who had been wronged, sold into slavery by his siblings. So why is it that after old man Jacob dies, that the brothers come to Joseph and basically are not even truthful and say, before our father died, he wanted you to swear that you will not cause us further harm? Why are they still thinking that Joseph really didn't forgive them and was just waiting for his father to die and then he's going to get his revenge? And a second time, Joseph says, don't fear. God had a plan. But you kind of get the sense that the reconciliation here is not complete, not perfect. And you know what? Those brothers go their way to do their sheep herding in the Goshen province. And number 2 in the land, Pharaoh's assistant, Pharaoh's prime minister, Joseph, lives his life very, very differently. Did that anxiety and that fear from maybe a not fully reconciled relationship continue? It might. The Torah doesn't say anything more about it. We don't learn anything more about Joseph's further life with his brothers per se. And this is true to reality. And then finally, we get to the key story about God and Israel as mediated by Moses. On Yom Kippur, with a lot of fanfare, in the liturgy, we're going to sing Salachna la'avon ha'am hazeh kegodel hastecha ka'asher nasata la'am hazeh miMisraim ad hena. Pardon, I pray thee, the iniquity of this people according to your great kindness. This is Moses pleading with God to be merciful. And then the cantor is going to sing with us together, Vayomer Adonai, Salachti Kidvarecha, etc. That's a climactic line. What does it say? And God said, I pardon or I forgive as you asked. But notice the JPS translation does not say forgive. It deliberately says pardon. And there's a difference. And I don't want to take the air out of your tires here. I don't want to deflate you, but the liturgy does not quote the very next line in the book of Numbers. It's severe. Listen to it. Immediately after God says, I pardon as you have asked, then God says, nevertheless. You see that word? Something's going. As I live, and as the Lord's presence fills the whole world, none of the people who have seen my presence and who have tried me these many times and have disobeyed me shall see the land that I promised. God has just said, I salachti, and then in the next breath says, but none of you sinners who disobeyed me is going to make it into the Holy Land. As a matter of fact, that's what happens. The whole generation of the Exodus dies out. It's the next generation. And Moses himself doesn't, Aaron doesn't, Miriam doesn't. That next generation with Joshua and Caleb and the others, they go through. So what's going on here? The great JPS commentary to the book of Numbers by Jacob Milgrom, an amazing scholar. I'll just give you one comment he makes here. Hebrew salach, implying not the absolution of sin, but the suspension of anger. That they not die immediately and their children may survive. That their children will inherit the land and not be destroyed, and the covenant will be maintained. That's why JPS translates the word here as pardon. Here's my final comments about this. The road to reconciliation in any situation of conflict, in the family context, in the community of nations, it's a long and winding road. It's not either or, forgiveness or not forgiveness. I've kind of discerned from these stories and from other commentaries, there's kind of 4 levels. The first I call moratorium, ceasefire. When you're in a conflict with somebody, again, at any level, individual to communal, the first thing, and it's an accomplishment, just cease fire. Stop arguing. Stop yelling and screaming at each other. Stop the accusations. Stop all the hurling back and forth. That's something right there. I call that level 1. Level 2, I call it restoration. One person or both people take the step of trying to restore a relationship, not just a ceasefire. There's remorse, as the Rambam tells us. There's reparation. Actions that try to heal the relationship, including, of course, pardoning, including saying, well, maybe they don't deserve it and they haven't shown what they should, but I'm going to at least pardon that part of it. Not everything is going to be kiss and make up and great at this point, but some level of restoration. The third stage is what I call partial reconciliation. This leads to what is known as a cold peace. Like when Israel and Egypt, on a communal level, they ceased fighting each other. They made overtures to each other, and what we have till this day is a cold peace. It's not a warm peace. It's not a full peace. Having visited Egypt myself, it's very abundantly clear and talked about this issue. And often that's the case with people as well in their personal relationships. Finally, it's hard. It may even be rare. But what you aspire to is full reconciliation, or what we call a warm peace. And this involves a forgiveness. Not necessarily a forgetting, but a true forgiveness. The stories that I cited to you are somewhere on that spectrum, from level 1 to level 4, from a moratorium to a full reconciliation. So that's what we think about and ponder, aspire to, whatever level we're at with the difficult relationships in our lives, within our families, community, the world. Can we get to the next step? Maybe going from 1 to 4, from 0 to 100, as they say colloquial, that may be too much. So how about considering the next step, the next level at these high holy days? Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
According to tradition, I changed the Torah covers this week as we begin the High Holy Day season at Slichot through Simchat Torah with the white Torah cover. So as you stand for the Aleinu and we open the Ark, you will see that. We turn to the bottom of page 282 and rise.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת כעולם יוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא שכונות שמיים ויוסד הארץ ומשה יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגורן מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום השמות אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא אלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו
On this Shabbat, we now call to mind in love and reverence the Yortzeit, the anniversary of the passing of Claire Raskin, mother of Michael Raskin, and Leon Raskin, father of Michael Raskin. Helen Knott, sister of Linda Kowalski. Tem Finkelstein, mother of Louise Schwartz. Minnie Shuloff, mother of Rivki Jacobowitz, grandmother of Marshall Jacobowitz. Frida Klug, mother of Maren Friedman. And Rose Schooler, mother of Noah Schooler. Of course, on this Shabbat, we also pause and remember all those lost on 9/11, 22 years ago. For all those close to our hearts, and for all those for whom there may be no one to say Kaddish, we join in the Kaddish prayer on page 294. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbi, be'alma divra chirutei ve'amlich malchutei, B'hayechon uvyomechon, u'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'vizman kari v'imru Amen. Yehi shmei Rabba levorach l'amei almaya. Yitbarak v'yishtabak v'yitpa'ar v'yitroman v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitale v'yitalal, Shemei D'Kudisha B'Richu, Aminko Birchata V'Shirata, Tushbechata V'Nechemata, Ta'amiran Be'alma V'Imru Amen. Yehi Shlama Rabba Min Shamayim, V'Chayim Aleinu Akol Yisrael V'Imru Amen. Oseh Shalom B'Mramav, Ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. May the source of peace and peace to all who mourn and comfort all who are bereaved. Please be seated. We call forward Michael for announcements. If he's going to tell us everything that's starting up now, we could be here a while.
Shabbat Shalom. Over the next hour and a half, I'll be doing these announcements. Thank you, Rabbi, and thank you for changing the covers. I didn't expect that. I don't even remember that that was done ahead of time, and it certainly was impressive. And thank you, student Cantor Flaxman, for easing us into the high holidays. with the special melodies that you used this evening, which warm us up for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. And we look forward with anticipation to your prayer leadership beginning next Friday.
Yes.
And student Cantor Joe is offering a weekly adult B'nai Mitzvah class that includes learning basic Hebrew, Torah study, and Judaic studies. It's a unique opportunity. The class begins this Sunday and meets weekly on Sundays from 12:30 to 2. If you're interested in this exceptional opportunity, contact student Cantor Joe at josephflaxman@gmail.com, or this evening you can talk to him or Rabbi Schwartz after the service. Torah study begins tomorrow in person at 10 a.m., and the group will be looking at some of the High Holy Day liturgy. Speaking of Jewish education at Adas Emuno, the first day of religious school is with parent orientation is this Sunday at 9 a.m. And that same day, Poetry Garden will be meeting at 7 p.m. The following day, Monday, the Adas Emuno Book Club meets via Zoom at 7:30. The Zoom information was included in the Rabbi's message. So if you click on that, the Rabbi will let you in. We'll be discussing a book about Leonard Cohen's time in Israel during the Yom Kippur War of 1973. Even if you haven't read the book, it could be fun to attend. The annual Leonia Day of Peace will be observed this Sunday on the lawn of the Methodist Church on Broad Avenue from 4:30 to 6 p.m. And Rabbi Schwartz will be among the clergy leading the observance.
I was just told in the event of rain, which is a possibility, it'll move inside the Methodist Church.
Mm-hmm. As we all know, the High Holy Days are now just 1 week away, and our Erev Rosh Hashanah service next Friday begins at 8 p.m. Members may bring guests, but we encourage members to let Virginia Gitter know their names so that our ushers can greet them. Virginia's email is vegitter@aol.com. The Saturday morning service for Rosh Hashanah begins at 10 a.m. and our world-famous children's service is at 2 p.m., followed by Tashlich at 3:30 in Overpeck Park. The next day, we'll be having a special religious school program for both our students and their parents, and a Rosh Hashanah program at 9:30. Then our busy rabbi will be meeting with the confirmation class that day at 11 o'clock.
We're about halfway through. We made it halfway through the announcements?
We're a little bit more,
Wow.
but not the jokes.
No, all right. That's it.
Yeah. No overtime. You don't get overtime. For all that.
It's a busy time.
Yeah. Our youth group will be forming in September with Adam Kahana as a youth group advisor, something we are very excited about. We're also excited that new engraved pavers for our patio have arrived, and we expect these engraved pavers will be installed shortly. We'll begin taking new orders for engraved pavers over the next month. Thank you, Dylan, for live streaming tonight's service. And tonight's oneg is sponsored by Linda Kowalski. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
We'll conclude our service with the song that the Cantor has brought us from the American songbook, The Turning of the World, during this time of turning.
Let us sing the song for the turning of the world, that we may turn as one. With every voice, with every song, we're going to move this world along, and our lives will feel the echo of our turning. And just a reminder, we go from turning to learning to loving. Let us sing this song for the turning of the world, that we may turn as one. With every voice, with every song, we will move this world along, and our lives will feel the echo of our turning. With every voice, with every song, we will move this world along. With every voice, with every song, we will move this world along, and our lives will feel the echo of our turning. Learning. Let us sing this song for the learning of the world, that we may learn as one. With every voice, with every song, we will move this world along, and our lives will feel the echo of our learning. With every voice, with every song, we will move this world along. With every voice, with every song, we will move this world along, and our lives will feel the echo of our learning. Let's love it. Let us sing this song for the loving of the world, that we may love as one. With every voice, with every song, we will move this world along, and our lives will feel the echo of our loving. With every voice, with every song, we will move this world along. With every voice, with every song, we will move this world along, and our lives will feel the echo of our loving. And our lives will feel the echo of our loving.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.